Hello there folks, how you doing? You might recall back in the summer I undertook a cross-country journey on the bicycle with a subscriber, John. Well, during that trip I let it be known that I had a long-held ambition to cross Rannoch Moor in a canoe. One thing led to another and John agreed to join me on that adventure, and I took the cameras along for your benefit. So let me roll the movie. I hope you enjoy this one, folks.
Just up a little bit. A bit more. That's it. Okay, I think you can drop it now.
What do you think, John? Do you think we should try going through the Narrows?
I think the through the narrow straight ahead.
Yeah.
And then open up a bit more of a stretch of water then.
It's certainly a lot. It's a lot shorter going that way. Well, the advantage of the high water, John, is we'll be able to paddle a lot more and portage a lot less, hopefully anyway. But the disadvantage is all the camping spots are flooded. All the little beaches and gravel banks that exist on Loch Ba. They're all underwater. Fancy camping on that. But let's skirt round this island and see if there's anything on the leeward side. There's a little bay coming up here. You see it? It looks quite wet. You see that point there, John? Beyond the point, that might be worth having a look.
That looks flat and
Yeah.
not foggy.
Certainly nothing here, is there? There's a little bit in these birch trees if we smash down the bracken.
Should have brought the hammock.
Yeah.
Trying to get up between some trees.
If this island is no good, the only other option really is the shoreline.
Yeah.
See, there's a little gravel bit in there, John.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
What about we go round into this little bay, pull in and we'll jump out and have a little scout about? I think it's quite difficult to find a place from the water.
Quite shallow there, Dave.
Is it? Okay. We've got more rocks coming up. So folks, this is glacial scoop. It's called Loch Ba, but it's a loch by name only. It's a scoop that's been removed by the ice, and it's studded with super sharp boulders. The whole of Rannoch Moor is basically water and peat bog.
Yeah, they look promising there, Dave.
Yeah.
Some bits in.
Yep. Right, let's go in and have a wee look. We have about 50 minutes of daylight to find a camp and establish it. Oh, this shoreline is pretty rocky, John, be careful.
I will. Plenty of room. Could have brought all of those coaches of tourists with us.
What do you think, John? It's a bit bumpy here, but
This one's a bit bumpy, but yes.
we can get in down there, I think.
Aye, aye.
We found a spot further back, folks. A bit prehistoric this, isn't
It's
it?
fantastic. Yeah.
Do you think there's any dinosaurs in here?
Trolls.
Trolls?
Trolls. Looks very Scandinavian, this.
Yes.
Yeah. They're living around here.
I don't think we'll be bothered by ticks. It doesn't look like there's much...
It's not like the last trip.
yeah.
No ticks, no midges.
Yeah, I don't think there's many sheep or deer on this island, completely uninhabited.
Right.
Although we did, there's a fire pit further down, we'll be able to use that tonight,
We
get
will.
a fire going.
We will.
But we've got a lot to do, folks. We have about 40 minutes of daylight maximum.
Maximum.
So we need to get the tents up, so we're going to crack on.
Get a wiggle on.
Yep.
lead. Which one?
I'd probably go for the pasta.
I wonder if I could have double pasta. No, we haven't done enough today to warrant double pasta.
That's true. Although it feels like we've done quite a lot. We've not covered a lot of distance, but we've been doing a bit of work.
I'm looking forward to my pudding tonight.
What's the pudding?
I've done a day. I've got a Nalgene bottle full of fruit.
Ah, I might have a tin or two of fruit with me. Perhaps a chance, maybe even 6. Remember the last time I mentioned about birch flies when we were going through that ancient birch woodland?
Oh yeah.
I wonder if this would be a good place for birch flies in the summer,
Yeah.
which would make it intolerable for camping.
Yeah, nasty little things. I read up on them after you told me about them.
Yeah.
And yeah, not good.
One or two, yeah.
No, come on. You've got 20.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I've watched that video.
I've gone a bit heavier tonight.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit cooler, but
Well, the label on mine says 0 degrees to -5. Right. So that will do.
fine. I don't think we'll get.
That with a 2D will do for me. That wasn't the plan anyway.
Yeah. This is my food bag, folks. Actually, it's not strictly true, it's got my cooking gear in it as well, but we're not travelling light with the food this time.
Oh, you got mushrooms. What's you got there? Mushrooms and what?
Courgettes, the usual, they just travel so well. So.
What are you having, Dave?
I'm having a vegetable curry that Mo made yesterday.
Who made it, Dave?
Mo made it, John
Mo
Mo.
made it.
And I'm
just checking.
reheating it. 2-day old. It's always better on the second day.
It is. Why is that, I wonder?
I don't know. I think all the spices and herbs and flavours infuse the vegetables.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they always are, aren't they?
Yes, they always are. It doesn't matter what curry where.
What's this fire doing?
More logs. It's a very good fire you made there, Dave.
So how's your pasta, John? Is it good?
It's as good as it's ever been. Right. Although these Tesco meatballs need to be slightly spicier, I shall complain.
Yeah.
So what's the plan tomorrow, Dave?
Well, we go that way, paddle through Loch
Right.
into the outflow, and then we'll paddle a bit of the outflow, we'll portage a bit of it, and we'll line a bit of it, and we'll get down into Loch Laidon,
Right.
and then we'll camp down there someplace.
Great.
We'll see how far we get. It
Yeah.
depends on there's a lot of water in the system, so getting from here into the next loch is going to be a real challenge. And that might be a day's work in itself, so we actually might just be camping a few kilometres away, but we'll have some of the tough terrain behind us, or the tough water.
But you're not organised for some porters, babe? No.
So a bit of bannock with your tea, coffee,
Aye.
whatever you're having.
So, what's that made of then, Dave?
It's all natural ingredients that I found just round about us, John.
Is that the co-op on the island? Is that
So, bannock mix is a very kind of personal thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Can you see that, folks? So I use some self-raising flour, so I don't have to add a raising agent in. You got to watch, if you have too much raising agent, you know it can be really bitter.
Yeah.
So I quite like using self-raising flour, but I think the traditionalists wouldn't. They would use a plain flour. So self-raising flour, and I put in milk powder, and I put in a wee pinch of salt, just a tiny pinch of salt, and then I also put in demerara sugar,
really?
but again just a tiny bit of demerara sugar. But when I'm away camping, quite often I'll add things to that basic mix. So I just have a bag of that basic mix with me, and then I can add other things in. You can put chocolate in, and you can put a bit of honey in. You just have to be careful putting sugars in, and because it'll burn quite easily. And if you're putting sugars in, you'll probably want to just put it there and bake it, rather than, you know, basically heat it over the fire like that. Just let it cook like that, with its heat going towards it very slowly. But if there's no sugars in it, you can cook it, or not much sugar in it, you can cook it like this quite easily.
I'll probably put some oil in there.
Yeah, there a little bit of oil just to keep keep it moving in the pan, so it doesn't burn on the bottom. And yeah, people put M&Ms in them and all sorts of things, but I quite like savoury ones. I quite like putting a little bit of tomato and onion in it. That can be quite nice.
Would you cut it up with a knife afterwards, Dave?
No, absolutely not. You never cut a bannock. Yeah, you know that. Leading question there. So no, you break a bannock, and breaking bread. So it's basically just a flatbread. Perfect for long trips. Quite nice to have with a cup of coffee. Or I had a curry tonight, so I could have dipped it in the curry, but I really was getting hungry and I wanted just to cook up my food. So this is almost
similar to a Moroccan flatbread or something like that.
yeah. So
And do you flip it, Dave?
yeah, maybe straight into the fire probably.
Don't lose it. Don't lose it.
So now you're
Oh.
there you go. So that's the other side. I don't know if you can see that, John.
I can see.
So the trick is to make sure, I just like to keep it moving like that, and I like that about that thickness as well. I don't like them to be too thin, but also if you're making it a little bit thicker like that, you've got to make sure that it is cooked in the middle. There's nothing worse than taking it off the heat too soon. So yeah, chewy, like chewing gum in the middle if it's not cooked properly. So there you go, folks. Bannock over the open fire.
Kid, is it time to eat it now?
Yeah, well, we really should let it cool, to be honest, but if you don't mind me using my bushcraft gloves, there we are. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. I'll give you the bigger bit since you haven't had it before. Oh, that's quite hot. Can you manage that?
Well, I'll just take them from your bush gloves into my fingers.
It is quite hot. I can feel it through the gloves.
We can do a joke now. What goes pitter patter, pitter patter,
I don't know.
a mouse running on hot pipes.
Ah.
just enough that you wouldn't want any more than that.
Right, I'm going to have a second cup of tea, John. Oh, that water is quite hot.
It is, isn't it?
I think that's quite safe to drink.
I think you're right. There weren't any bugs in that one.
I think I might put it there and put that there to brew up a little bit. I'm going to have a seat closer to the fire.
I was quite disappointed I took down some birch.
Yeah.
The hedges have gone.
Morning, folks. It's a bit misty murky this morning. The daylight is just coming in, but we want to get up and away reasonably early. We've got a bit of distance to cover today. Not very much distance, but we've got a lot of white water to bypass, or, well, either portage or line, I'm not quite sure. The water levels are pretty high. We'll see how we get on. John's down at the fire. You got the kettle on down there, John?
It's porridge time, Dave.
Porridge time. Let's go and see if he'll boil my kettle for me. Can you hear us above the roar of the stoves, folks? We're boiling up water for our flask so that we've got some hot drink today.
Actually, one thing you could do,
What's that?
just the one thing, check that's a bow line.
Alright, I'll do that.
I reckon that's as
Wee bit of knot tying. It's a dry suit day today, folks. Break out this dry suit. What's the note you want me to check?
how long?
Okay.
See, that one's alright. The back one's alright. However, the converse is always true. Okay.
That's a bowline. Do you want to try the back one yourself? I'll check it for you.
I'll do that and then see what happens.
Well, folks, we're all cinched down, almost good to go. We've got the bowlines tied. John's getting into his dry suit there. I'm just waiting on one GoPro charging. Get the electrical gear tied on the back of the boat here. Get out on the water. There's a ripple on the water, John. It's not flat calm, but there's not much to worry about. Although it's an easterly wind, we're going straight into it.
Might be double paddle job then.
Yeah, I think we might break out the double paddles this morning and make a bit of distance.
I've just spotted the banana skin I've been looking for. I put it there to remind me to take it.
Alright. What are you doing, John? Good to go?
Dave, I seem to have all the wood again.
Sorry, John?
I seem to have all the wood again, Dave.
Yeah, indeed. That's why you got to keep coming with me. Watch, there's a big rock there, John, just a little ahead of me there. Okay, I can see the water opening up ahead of us, a little bit to the right. Sorry?
I'm assuming it's down there.
Yeah, I think so. It might be worth breaking out some navigation equipment just to make sure. But that certainly looks like the biggest bit of water. Well folks, we're pretty sure we're going in the right direction. It's quite difficult because I enjoy navigating by the hills, and I do have a map and compass with me, but it's in the bag, so we're only getting glimpses of the hills here. That's Ben a Creakin over there, over my right shoulder, and actually Ben a Carter might just be in shot. And then they've got the wee Graham that rises up above Black Corries there, just hazily visible. And then there's the wee Marlin that I've climbed from Gorton Boffey just over there, so I'm pretty sure we're going in the right direction. You know what's telling me as well, John? We've got the wind in our face, and it's an easterly wind, and we're supposed to be going east, so... Sorry?
You said the wind would be behind us today.
No, the wind will be behind us on... well, I don't know when it's going to be behind us. It's going to swing round to southwesterly, southerly first and then a southwesterly, but not today and probably not tomorrow either.
I'm sure when I said yesterday's trip, Dave, you said the sun would shine to be no wind, and if it was any wind, it would be behind the head.
Did I? Oh, yeah, maybe I did. Yes. Well, the sun always shines. And the wind's always in our favour. There's just enough wind to make this a little bit hard work. There's not enough wind to impede progress. You don't need much wind in the canoe when they're heavily laden as this to slow you down a little bit. Well folks, the reason I'm not filming from shore today, which would give you much more interesting footage to view, to be honest, the reason is the shoreline is studded with rocks, and like I said yesterday, this is it's really just a glacial gouge. So it's quite shallow, and paddling too close to shore there's a real chance of damaging the boat or tipping yourself out of the boat into the water, and that water is quite cold. So we're better out here in the deeper water, safer out here. But it means that there's no place to mount the camera except on the boat. So you'll be fed up looking at me by the end of this stretch. I'm going to swing over to the right, John, and go round that island on the right. Got some narrows ahead, John. I'm going to spin you around, folks, so you can see where we're going. That little opening there, we've got to get through there and then back into more open water again, and then the navigation might get slightly easier. Hopefully there's enough water to get through here without lining or portaging. So that was fun, John, running that wee swift.
My pulse up a bit high up here.
Did it?
I'm a bit lower than you, and I think I caught all the rocks you missed.
Oh, really? Okay, where is this outflow then? Is it dead ahead?
I think it's got ahead, yes.
Yeah, it seems to be, yeah.
I might be sitting a bit higher than you, Dave. I can see some ripples in the water.
Yeah, yeah, and it's guarded by some boulders. So what we better, with the high water, we better not paddle into it, John. We better get out and scout and see if we can paddle, line or portage. Lining is going to be super difficult with the high water. We're going to be waist deep in it. The rocks in the bottom are pretty treacherous, folks. So much water in the system, it's hard going. I think I'm going to have to pull the boat out the water and go back and give John a hand with a heavier boat. Hey, right folks, we're making some progress now. I can paddle the next bit. I'm going to go and help John though. He's out of sight, so let's make sure he's okay with this white water. A boat round here. A nice wee bay here. Well, we're back on the water, folks. That was pretty hard going. We covered about 250 metres there, and we have 3,000 metres of this river to cover. It's a bigger boat, which is great out on the flat water and carrying capacity, but it's hard going for the lining and the portaging. This is peaceful. Right, I'm going to pull off, and I've got the other camera running, folks. Giving away my secret. I'll pull off, grab the other camera and let John catch up. To wait for John. We've got a choice here. This is an island. That dead ahead there is an island, that little bit there, and the river runs either side of it. We need to decide. That's a lovely view in behind you there. So we're going to go down to the right. It's the tow is beginning to pick up a little bit, so just be careful. I'm going to go down. I'm going to paddle a little bit, John, but just be careful if you decide to paddle a bit. Look for an eddy at all times so you can get out if you have to. We really should get out and scout this, but I think I can get down a little bit. Sorry? Yeah, we'll go. I think we'll go the wider way because I think it might be easier to line, John. Less depth of water. The deep water is, you know, we can't see the bottom. There's a big rock here. So this water is beginning to move quite fast, John, if you're not comfortable, okay? I'm going to eddy out here and have a wee look. Perfect. I think you can put in here, John, you'll get a little bit. Maybe not, John, this is maybe a bit fast for you. John's not so confident in the swifts, so we're using up a fair amount of time lining water that we could paddle, but I don't want to push him to do anything that he doesn't want to do. Now, the river splits here. That's the way ahead there. So how you doing there, John? You're on camera, by the way.
I won't be swearing then, Dan.
No swearing. Family friendly. So we've got some swifts ahead, and John's going to give it a go. Keep an eye on them. Pretty certain it's safe, no doubt in my mind. And it'll cover a bit of distance, it'll reduce the amount of lining and portaging, because looking down this terrain is unforgiving. It looks just, in the camera I'm guessing it looks just like grassland, but it's tussocks that sit about almost, in some cases, a metre above the actual bog level. And the bog is soft or full of water, so this area on the side of the river, it's almost impossible to walk on. See these eddies, these slack bits of water at the side, John? If you feel you're going too fast, spin the boat round and paddle hard crossways on to get into that eddy, get that front end into the eddy, and you'll be fine. So we need to stick to the right hand side here, to the deeper water, John. It's a little bit faster moving, but it's a lot safer. So we've got some more swifts up ahead. John's out of the boat. I'm hoping he's going to get back in because it's a long section to portage. No, he's lining. I think John's main concern, although I haven't asked him, I better have a chat with him, is getting tipped out the boat when you're sliding past these rocks. So although we've got plenty of water for this particular stretch, it's often very dry, which actually makes the portaging quite easy because you can just walk down the edge and you can jump from boulder to boulder. But when the boulders are just under water, it's a little bit challenging. The portaging is difficult, but running this, you're definitely going to hit a few rocks. But if you've got a little bit of mobility in the upper body, you can compensate. Are you getting in again, John? Are you paddling or lining? Okay, good, here he comes. Just through there, straight through. Well done. Now this river, folks, is 3 kilometres, so quite relatively short, but the terrain on either side is just brutal for portaging. So, and a 3,000 metre portage is, with all this gear, is big by anybody's standard. So the river is a series of swifts, rapids, and then these calm sections. And the swifts would ordinarily be quite easy to paddle, but there's quite a lot of water in, and John is a little bit reluctant to paddle them. So we're doing a little bit more lining than I'd really like to be honest, just with the timings, left or right. I'm going to go to the right this time, John. I need to get into this eddy. In and out the boat a fair bit. I guess a wee bit deeper, yeah. You're on camera. Can you manage to get in? That's the key. Without, just careful you don't tip that boat when you're getting in. That's it. Well done. We can paddle again for a wee while. That's a look of pain on that face there.
Because I'm not very flexible.
What are you doing there, John?
I'd like to confirm the dry suit isn't necessarily dry if you get hot in it.
You get what?
You get hot.
Oh, you get hot, yes, yes. Right, we've got more swifts coming up, but there's not enough water in them to run them. And we've got more climbing about on slippery rocks. But it looks like we don't need to line, we can just pull the boat perhaps. John says I'm full of joy. I'm not sure that he actually meant that. Right, we have a long swift coming up here, and I'm going to try and walk through it rather than line this time. I'm actually in it now. I think I'm going to run the first little bit of it. I can see if I can get through between these boulders, that is. I'm going quite quickly. I can see a little eddy up here. There we are. Thank goodness for eddies. Right, folks, let the pain begin. This seems like hard work, folks. Let me tell you, it's a lot easier than carrying all of this. Got some nice water ahead, folks, and one horrible obstacle that is forcing me to put you out into deep water to get round. Otherwise I'm going to have to haul the boat out to see if I can line round this bit, so don't pull the camera into the water. So it's too deep out there for me. I'm going to throw you out there on your own. But first I want to get out to some grip on the ropes. Okay, off you go. Got my first injury. I went back to help John and I lined his boat over that tiny wee waterfall there, but it was all gabbro. It's pretty rough rock on the hands. Lost a bit of bark. Fortunately it grows back. Okay, well that was 5 minutes respite and it all starts again. It looks like a long section ahead, and then there is actually some proper white water before we get into the big water. Okay John, you need to look for a place to eddy out about here. Or maybe there if you're not so keen on coming down a bit. It's quite fast. Oh. It's not so easy eddying out with all these rocks. There we are, perfect. Keep the stern in a bit. Get the front end out, get the bow out and the stern in. Front end out.
So there's a baking sandwich shop down here then?
So John,
Aye.
that you were wondering this morning when you set off, is oh, could I do that? 3 kilometres of pretty challenging terrain with probably between us we've got about 100 kilos of gear.
Well, it's testament to your coaching, Dave, but I've never done that before.
There's a first for you.
And I might do it again.
You might do it again. Well, that's a good sign.
It's not never. Now is it pot noodle and coffee time?
It's tea time, yes. You can have a pot noodle if you like.
I will.
I'm going to have some fruit. And some fruit and maybe some peanut butter and some jelly. And I might have to put the camera away, it's just beginning to rain. Oh, the lunch bag clipped in about a dozen different places. I might actually just be able to get in the top without taking it off. Well, you see now why it's a good idea to clip everything into that boat. And if I just spend the rest of the day walking backwards and forwards looking for things that fell out.
Never seen them again.
There we are. Trying to hide my bag of tins from the folks. Not exactly travelling light.
Time's up now, Dave.
Sorry?
See what time is up there.
Yeah.
Past 2.
Okay, we've got about 50 minutes or so, well, depending how long we sit here.
Right.
We'll say we've got about 40-45 minutes
Tops.
to start finding a camp.
Well, in that case, I'll start the cooking up. I shall just have a coffee.
You know, I see a point down there, which is maybe a bit lazy, but it's probably 300 metres away,
Right.
a raised point out on the Loch. It's looking quite nice to me. Well folks, that's tea time just about over, and we've got about 40 minutes to find a place to camp, a dry place. I don't mind sitting having my tea in a bog, but I'm not very keen on sitting or lying in a bog all evening or all night. So we can spot a place on the horizon there, and we might just pull over there. This loch runs a long way east, but it also bends round, and there's a section in behind the hills over your shoulder there, folks, that tucks in. And I did actually wonder about paddling down and then paddling into that shelter bit, but it's so calm. It's also pouring with rain, which I don't know if the camera's picking it up. It's very fine rain, but
Is that wet rain?
it's definitely wet rain. There's no two ways about it. So it might actually be good just to get a camp set up and get the tents up, relax a little bit, have an easier evening. See if we can get up and away a bit sharper in the morning, John. We were quite slow this morning. I was lingering over this, that and the next thing. I had a nice, easy, lazy breakfast, and then I decided I wanted some fruit after my breakfast. And
You were having the full buffet this morning, weren't you?
yeah, full buffet this morning, and trimming the boats and everything, because we knew that we were going to face some quite challenging conditions. We had to make sure everything was pretty well cinched down. And I think I'm going to stop blethering, pack away my lunch bag, not much left of it, and we'll get back on the water. What do you think, John?
That's a very good idea.
Good plan, isn't it?
Right.
That wee point doesn't look so good when you get close to it. I think we should go down the north shore. Let's see how much time we've got. We just keep going till we find one of these wee points that looks okay. So we've got a little cluster of islands in here, folks, but we're on quite big water, and although the forecast is for calm conditions, my inclination is to either camp on the shore tonight. It was lovely camping on Elan Volach on the island last night, but it was shallower water and relatively easy to get into the side if there was bad conditions came in, stormy conditions, which, as I say, they're not forecast, but on the bigger water it's possibly a bit safer at this time of the year to be a wee bit closer to shore. So I think I'm going to paddle between the islands and do a time check and see if we can go on a little bit, find a spot in the heather tonight to camp. If we do camp on an island, it'll be on one of the sheltered ones, pretty close in, but they don't look very flat. So we're pretty short on daylight, folks, but my inclination is to beast it across to that shore there, and I can see a heathery knoll. It's possibly not the most comfortable place to camp tonight, but it'll be safe. Is John coming? Putting on a bit of speed. So I'm midway between a wee island that looks a bit too boggy to tell the truth, although there is one grassy bit on it, and this knoll in front with a lone tree on it. I think I'm going to go and paddle across and have a look at that high spot, see if we can get the tents in the heather. Find a place for a fire as well, without setting fire to everything, although it's pretty wet just now and the fire risk is probably quite low. Just checking in with you, folks. We've got about 20 minutes of daylight left. It's been raining quite hard and I'm low in power in the GoPros, so we've got quite a lot to do. Filming has had to take a back seat for a wee while, but once we get shelter established, I'll be able to charge up the camera, the GoPro, and get filming again. So you can see we're having a night in the heather. It's not the most auspicious place to camp tonight, but getting down that white water today took a fair bit of time, so this is basically as far as we got. Once we flatten the heather down a little bit, it'll be fine and springy, quite comfy. And I've come up on this wee point here. I've got a grand view. I'm not too worried about the wind. I'm going to point down so that I get that view, although that view is not bad either. Right, I think that'll do, but I'm going to got a bit of a ground sheet here. I'll put it underneath.
Not too much finesse tonight, folks. We just crack on and get shelter. What's it for dinner tonight, John?
The gods have decreed beef casserole.
Beef casserole.
Aye.
Well, I'm going to have pasta, but I've got some fresh veggies. I've got courgettes and mushrooms, so I'm going to fry up some veggie as well.
I've got Tesco's best beef casserole with pasta.
Sounds
Could
good.
have had pasta with casserole, but I'm having casserole with pasta.
Right. So we've got our tent set up. It's not the driest or, well, it's actually pretty dry. It's not the flattest of places, but I think we've both got a decent platform to sleep on tonight. It was a long day. We came from away over there. We're far enough away. We're a good kilometre and a half away from the river, so we won't hear it. We might hear it drifting over in the night when it gets dark, actually, when I stop blethering. So we've got plenty of firewood. We're going to have a wee fire here. It's pretty wet, but we can put the fire here, maybe sit on the rock there. But I think first we'll cook up a bit of dinner before it gets dark, yeah?
Good idea, Dave.
So the GoPro, it's too dark, folks, to film with big cameras now. So I've been filming GoPro most of the day. I managed to get the big cameras on a couple of times, but it's too dark now. That GoPro is down to, well, it was 15% when I put it on, but I've been chuntering away, so it's probably down to about 13–14%. But I do have one charging in the tent, so you'll be able to join us. If you don't join us for dinner, you'll be able to join us round the fire for a wee blether, folks. So, but for now, I'm going to get some water on the boil, chop up my veggies, and dig out the olive oil and a wee bit of cooking. And a wee bit of sitting down. We haven't done much sitting down today, have we?
Yeah.
And a wee bit in between all these rapids. We managed to paddle a wee bit, but a lot of lining and a lot of guiding the boat through the rapids today. But we didn't have to portage.
We didn't.
Well, one or two wee tiny bits, but nothing to worry about. So we're all good. So let's get cooking before it gets dark. I'll break out my new gas tonight, so I'm not bothering you, John.
I think I've got another cracked electrode.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is that why it's not sparking?
Yeah.
Where's your nearest cigarette lighter?
You.
Yeah. You carry a cigarette lighter just in case?
No, I've got matches.
Ah, right.
Waterproof
You should
matches.
get yourself fire steel. Fire steel is just the bee's knees. Never, if you've got it, fire steel, you can always get something on the go. I need a level rock, and this is not a level rock. But that is there. Oh, perfect. Right, I'll give you a hand with it.
Oh, don't worry. I'll go get some water first.
Just giving my pasta another minute or two, folks. Got the kettle boiled here for a cup of tea. I've got courgette and mushroom. I've got tomato sauce for my pasta, and I've got one of these tubes of tomato puree just to liven it up a little bit. I don't think you can see very much. It's almost dark now, John. Eh?
Aye, almost.
It's not raining, but there's very light precipitation coming from the thick cloud. I'm guessing you can't see me very well, folks. Let me shine my torch at myself. So I'm just going to have some of my Parmesan cheese on the pasta. I'm going to go and sit by the fire, have a cup of tea, and then into the sleeping bags early tonight, John. Eh?
Good idea.
Yeah.
Do with that.
So let me crack on with this meal. I've had my first course. I've had my vegetable starter.
Well, John, that was a grand day, yeah?
I was. Bit tiring in places.
Aye, it was a hard day. There's no two ways about it. So what we're going to do, folks, we're going to sit here by the fire for a wee while, enjoy the heat, but we're just going to let it burn down. We're not putting any more fuel on. And then up into the tents. I think you're going to read, John, aren't you?
I've got my Kindle with me. I'm going to read myself a book.
All right, well, I've got some music. I'm going to listen to some music, climb into the sleeping bag, listen to a few tunes, and then drop off to sleep and see if we can get up reasonably early tomorrow. We've still got although it's flat water ahead, we've got a lot of kilometres to cover tomorrow, so...
Yeah, it's quite long. It's about that big on the map, Dave.
About that big? That's quite big on the map then. So we've got a fair distance. So I hope you enjoyed today, folks. There wasn't so much filming from shore as I would have liked, but you'll probably... I hope there's enough GoPro footage to give you a flavour for how difficult it was at times, so you'll appreciate that covering that terrain and getting a camp before dark was a priority. However, I think there's some footage there. We had the GoPro running a lot anyway, so we'll see what happens. But for now, folks, I'm going to sit here, warm up, dry out a little bit, and then up into the tent. So we'll get back to you in the morning, folks. So,
Good night.
good night for now. Morning, folks. It's a bit misty murky again this morning, but still pretty calm on the water, so all good today. We got flat water to paddle. We've got a long way to go, but conditions are looking good. It's pretty wet in the night and quite windy for a while, so I was beginning to wonder if we were going to get windbound. But the forecast was for calm conditions today, and that's what we've got. Do a bit of packing up here and then get the kettle on. Oatmeal again, tea for breakfast. I'm carrying these bigger cameras, but it was so wet yesterday that we didn't have much opportunity to use them. Hopefully I'll be able to break them out a bit today. It's not the easiest place to set up the tent in the heather, but it was actually quite comfortable and it was dry.
That's true.
You've got a boat full of water.
A bit. I was too tired to turn it over last night and couldn't be bothered.
Aye, I flipped mine over. Thought it was going to rain.
Bailing it out was less painful this morning than turning it over last night.
It's a soggy wet morning, folks. Which is always greatly improved by a cup of tea. So apart from this food bag and my electrical bags for the cameras, everything is packed away and cinched down. I haven't loaded the boat yet. I'll load the boat in a wee while. I like to load the boat quite carefully, get the weight exactly where I want it. So flat water today. We've got a wee bit of a headwind though, but I'll trim the boat. John and I are chatting. There's inlet to this loch that it goes quite a long way in. What, about a kilometre and a half, John? Something like that?
Yeah.
So we might add to our journey today and have a wee look, which might mean another night out, to be honest. But I think we'll probably manage it today. We should be able to finish the crossing of the moor today. That's the plan anyway. But we brought an extra portion of pasta each just in case. I'm fairly confident we'll get the job done today. I wasn't so confident when I heard the wind howling in the night. I thought we might have to sit it out for a wee while this morning, but no problems. My lighter's damp. When I'm out on these trips, I tend to have a lighter in almost every pocket and every wee bag, but a fire steel actually is the most reliable bit of equipment. I always carry a couple of these as well. Not the most environmentally friendly, but these Ziploc bags, I tend to put my food in them and then in the big dry bag. And so what I have here, this is the breakfast one. I have a breakfast one and a dinner one in the main bag, and then in my wee day bag that I put on the top of the canoe, I have a kind of lunch or a snack bag. Usually with a wee flask, either just hot water or maybe tea or coffee. Yeah, that's for the MSR school.
Oh, right, okay. I will see if we can get another ignite on this, because it's a really nice little cooking system. Even worse to come through today, then, isn't it?
This stone that I'm standing on was underwater last night.
You noticed the most amazing thing.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it. Yeah, what level's down,
We'll
even
have
after all that rain as well.
We'll have some trouble getting out there then.
Yeah.
If that's actually right, look, those stones, you have trouble getting in there. Yes.
Yeah, we might put in the
Brilliant.
We'll see, we'll get out someplace.
Striking. It might be blue sky yet.
There's a wee patch of blue sky there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Oh yeah, up
I'm
there
there.
too.
You
Yeah.
see? Have faith. The BBC weather app is rarely wrong.
Oh, I don't take my advice from the BBC. I use the Met Office
Aye.
and XC Weather.
Aye.
XC Weather, especially if I'm going coastal, they seem to be particularly good for that. And I use MWIS, the Mountain Weather Information Service.
Right.
And I play around with the charts. I look at the charts as well and see if I can figure anything out for myself. And just for the longer range forecasts. And sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I don't.
When I look at those charts, I always have the most optimistic view, and I hope the highs move in sooner than they ever do, and they never seem to. I should learn from that.
Yeah.
They never go the way I want them to.
Yep. The weather dictates everything. There's that old joke, you know, there's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong clothes.
That's Billy Connell, isn't it?
Well, it's attributed to him, and I think it probably is, but I'm not sure about that.
Right. It must go back further than that.
Yeah, I would guess, but... And I know it is a joke, you know, and it's good humour.
Yeah. Get
But
yourself a
in the
raincoat and live a bit.
yeah, in the hills it's extremely dangerous advice,
Yes.
because the weather will kill you in the hills. Whatever clothes you're wearing, if you happen to be out in the wrong conditions in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I guess it's a case of constantly risk assessing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mountains are lit up very nicely, Dave.
Are they? I'm just going to chuck some gear in this canoe first.
Yes. I don't think they're going to get any worse. You know, it's a nice. Dave, this is a perfect day.
Yeah, it's a perfect day.
The only downside is going to get getting in a cold, damp dry suit.
ya ho, boys, let her go, boys. Swing her head round and all together. Heel ya ho, boys, let her go, boys. Sailing homeward to Mingalay. John's paddling away. Was that painful, John? So how are we doing, John?
We're doing fine today, David.
Yeah.
The wind's picked up a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's a wee bit choppy. We've got, what do you think, about 4 kilometres to go, something like that?
Yeah, about 4, that's it now.
Yeah.
Down to the end.
Righty ho.
But it's a lovely blue sky.
Aye.
And that sunshine's almost...
That sunshine is warm when you've got a dry suit on.
Aye.
You heard it here first, folks. You want to enjoy the sunshine in Scotland in November,
Dry suit on.
grab a dry suit.
And do some exercise with it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little swell on the water now.
Aye. I'm very glad the wind's behind us.
Yeah, the wind is behind us. So that means that the bad weather is coming early, but we won't have any problem where, well, the journey is quite a ways from being over, but the tough part is definitely behind us. We'll finish today, I'm pretty confident. Although we do have to break out these portage wheels. We've both carried a set of wheels, folks, because to get back to a road and a vehicle we have to find a track and then strap some wheels onto these and turn these boats into wheelbarrows. Hey ho, we'll get there.
I've got a feeling Dave's seen my wheels and he'll be putting his canoe on top of mine.
Got a really swanky set of wheels. My set of wheels, John, are held together with Gorilla tape.
That's the best sort.
That'll do the job, hopefully. Well, what do you think? I think we should get to it.
I think we should get a move on. I can feel my fingers getting cold.
You know what would warm you up?
What's that?
You give me a toe.
I don't want to be that warm.
You don't want to be that warm. Right folks, we'll get back to you in a wee while. We need to get back to work. We've got a few kilometres still to go. I'll push you off, John. There you go. Get the sun in your eyes there, folks. So the reason that there's more swell on the water here is where the wind is assisting us, but it's blowing more or less directly down the loch, and this loch is long enough for a fetch to occur, so the waves amplify as they go down. So I'm ready for my lunch, but I'm keeping going because if the wind does pick up any more, the bottom part of the loch will be quite choppy. Well, not choppy, but we'll have a big swell, which makes for much more difficult paddling.
But not too fast, probably.
Yeah, because otherwise I've got a long distance to go. Well folks, that was a long way. We're almost there. I can see the track. It's a different kind of pain after that. I can go into gardener mode and push my wheelbarrow. More familiar with that. Now, where am I going to get out? I've got two choices here, folks. Try to find the most sheltered of the two. I know this little jetty, there's bits of metal stick up out the water. Be a little bit careful here. Over the jetty now. Dry land. That was a beast of a paddle, yes?
It was.
It's a long way. I decided to forego lunch and keep on the go, keep on the water, because further back there was a fair swell. There's a big fetch on this water, so I was a little bit concerned that when we got further down it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And we're both sitting quite low in the water, and John in particular was sitting stern heavy, which was making for good progress on the water, but one of these, a wee sneaker wave coming in behind you, John, and filling the boat.
You stayed on fat, Dave.
So this is an object lesson on how not to treat boats. We're going to drag them over this gravel. We'll get them up onto the harder stuff and we'll put some wheels on them.
Hang on.
Oh, that feels so much better. That's an amazing wheelbarrow you got there, John. Is this yours?
Oh, it is, yes. It's a very expensive wheelbarrow, Dave. A slightly more battered wheelbarrow than it was a couple of days ago.
Looks okay on the top, John. Just don't look too closely at the underneath. So, well, I've already got my boat up the hill, folks. It's a wee bit lighter than John's, less than half the weight actually. I'll give you a hand up the hill, John, and then we'll take the folks along. We're going to take these boats for a walk now, so no more water. We've run out of water. Rannoch Moor has no more water to offer us
Today.
today.
We'll be back.
Right, let's go.
Well, hope you enjoyed that one, folks. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment, although it might be a wee while before I get back to you because I'm away camping again this weekend. So thanks as ever for tuning in, thanks for supporting the channel, it's very much appreciated. Stay safe, folks. Look forward to getting back to you on the next one. Bye for now.